Hey everybody, welcome to Bag It or Slab It, the Comics Cubed preview and review show featuring Nick Gray,
Hi.
Ed Gibson,
How we doing, everybody?
and the guy in the middle. Hi, I'm Sean. I own Comics Cubed. Hey, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. We're going to talk about some comics, and if you stick around to the end of the show and answer some questions, we're going to give away a copy of We Live #1, Age of Platians, the black cover edition or black edition. There's a black and white edition, and this is the Aftershock Ambassador cover. So stick around to the end. You can check that out. Meanwhile, let's get right into it. Me and Nick had a chance to read Immortal Red Sonja. Ed bowed out on this one. He had other important things to do, such as educating the children of Indiana. My buddy Nick, how up are you on Red Sonja?
I've not traditionally read Red Sonja, so I wasn't as familiar with what I was getting into with it. The art, I like the art inside the book better than the cover version that I got. I was a little curious if the art was going to be continue on the inside, but the art was pretty decent. The story itself, to me, I was grasping at what was going on. It was like you start in the middle of the adventure. So it was a little interesting way to start, I guess. But a lot of talk, build, I think, of what's going to be coming for Red Sonja in that. You do get a battle in it towards the end. She apparently has been cursed. I don't know if that's a common theme because, again, I've not read Red Sonja, but she apparently is cursed. I think you brought it up. It was felt a little Arthurian mythos kind of infused into with Red Sonja. It was a decent enough book. I wasn't super enamored with it, but what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, if you're out there, you're watching the show, and you read Immortal Red Sonja, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't read Red Sonja on a regular basis. It's not my go-to book. I just happen to be walking by the shelves and I'm like, oh, it's a new #1. That sounds like something I should check out and review for Bag It or Slab It. So the idea here, like you said, it's got an Arthurian tie. The idea being that the chainmail shirt that Sonja is wearing on this cover somehow belonged to King Arthur, and now she is cursed that she can't take this off until she returns it to like Camelot or something like that. Now, I'm just going to point out that if King Arthur is wearing this particular suit of chainmail, it didn't probably fit him really well. Um, it's not even covering her navel, and I got to think that she might not be as big as, let's say, a Knight of the Round Table.
Well,
I
people
mean,
were
maybe a
smaller
pot.
back in time.
She's definitely bigger, but I don't think she's gonna. Art wise, they thought it was really good. Story wise, they thought it was intriguing. They do drop you in the middle of the story, but there's enough info dump to tell you that she's been traveling for a year to get to where we are because
Yeah,
of the curse.
I'm
So
more disturbed that she's been wearing a chainmail shirt she can't take off for a
You
year.
you
So
mentioned that when you send out something about the book, and I was really curious what that meant.
yeah,
But
I was like, I was like,
maybe it magically cleans it all up. I don't know, but
is she immortal Red Sonja because of the smell?
maybe. I mean,
nothing wants to come near her to even try to kill her.
The smell is immortal.
I
It
don't
cannot.
remember my Arthurian legend well enough to remember. I thought it was the scabbard that Excalibur was kept in that made him immortal or invincible. But either way, I thought it was a fun read. I thought the art was really well done. It's done by Dan Abnett. He has got a list of credits a mile long for all kinds of different companies. He does really good work. So I think I think this is definitely a bag it. I don't think it's a slab it, but if you've got any sword and sorcery things, you like, hot redheaded chicks in, year old chainmail they've never taken off, you like Arthurian stuff, you just want to see a kick ass fight, I think it's well worth checking out. All right. Hey, it's my pool list. It's the stuff that I got to read this week. So Immortal Red Sonja's on there. Robin's #6, which ends that series, was a good culmination of that series. Robin 13 was Splendiferous. Definitely worth reading. And if you're reading the crossover between Batman and Deathstroke, you got to have it. Got to knock out Knights of X, which Ed knows is the the Excalibur.
Yeah, it used to be Excalibur.
So that's what it's become. Punisher number 2, superb. Naomi season 1 and 2. For all the people who are dumping on that book, thought it was really good. Rogues 1 and 2. Rogues has been out a while. 2 comes out this week. I thought they were pretty good. West of Sundown, you guys really liked it. For me, that was probably a pass. Justice League 75, okay. We whacked the entire Justice League except for one member. I dug it. And then Betty Page, Alien Agenda number 1. Well, it's Betty Page being called on by the U.S. government to track down what's going on at Area 51. So that's a win. I don't see how you go wrong with that.
So out of all that, what are you slabbing there?
Robin number 13 gets the slab. Punisher number 2 is worth slabbing. And then anything with Betty Page is probably worth slabbing. The West of Sundown, I'm probably going to take a pass on. I might read the second one just because I'm in a comic book store. Immortal Red Sonja, I would bag. Robins, it's the end of the series. Good book. Definitely bag it. Knights of X, I'll come back to and try again, so bag it. Punisher, bag it or slab it. Just another really good issue of that. So,
the Punisher is him working for, is it the Hand?
The Hand. Turns out they bring dead people back to life if you do what they want you to do. What's Frank's whole motivation? They kind of figured this guy out.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
I thought he'd been brainwashed.
And the whole thing
that makes a lot more.
They got something he wants.
They do.
They don't sugarcoat any of it. They want him to be the master of murder. Flat out. It's not even about like, we need you for the better good or we've got to cut off the hand to save the body. No, we're the hand and we need you because you are the most proficient killing machine in the world. Even our ninjas aren't as good as you at killing. And that's what it's about.
Is it he's just proficient or he just has the biggest like volume? Like he's just got the biggest numbers. Does that make him proficient?
I mean, they really seem really impressed with what he's bringing to the table. Really impressed. Quite happy with it.
I would think somebody else might be a bit better at it.
Yeah.
But he's just got a long, like, he's got a big laundry list of I've killed this many.
It's a big list. Him and Scourge. I think Scourge probably took out more actual names than the Punisher. Punisher's killed a lot of mooks, but I think Scourge and Captain America, he actually whacked some real dudes. So, but either way, some good books out. I thought there was some great stuff out this week. Some of the stuff's coming out next week, or is coming out this week. Justice League 75 drops on Wednesday. Knights of X drops on Wednesday. Punisher drops on Wednesday. Rogues number 2 is dropping on Wednesday. So, and then Robin 13, that's probably the big pickup because the people who aren't getting it but are getting Batman or Deathstroke, they're going to want this. This is the issue. You don't want to skip it if you're getting that After War series, the Shadow War series. You do not want to skip Robin. So a lot of times they do these crossovers, and there's a book that can easily just be, I'm skipping that one. Do not skip on Robin.
Very good.
They've given him some of what he wants, Jeremy Mundy. They haven't given him all of what he wants. So, I'll team up to form the body.
I think this is a book that I think all three of us read. Ed, did you get a chance to read that?
Yeah, okay. I did.
So I think all three of us read The Collector this week. Kind of a world, I think it takes place in 1941. World War II during the Japanese. It takes place in with a unit called 731, which is a Japanese unit that did a lot of medical testing and stuff like that. It's a piece of history that I find interesting when I look at like World War II history. A lot of people knows about the stuff that happened in Nazi Germany, but less people like know about. I always have to remind Sean every time something with it comes up about Unit 731, which is like a medical.
What's Unit 731?
Yeah. But art in it I thought was absolutely superb. It's a topic that interests me, and this is, I don't know if it's what direction it's going to go in this. At the face value of issue 1, it seems I don't know if it's a historical, some actual story that takes place around. Nothing told me that, but it's more of a, at least in the opening, a realistic historical view of kind of what's going on and experimentation. there's nothing supernatural. I don't know the full on premise of what they plan to do with it, or if it's just going to be that kind of that struggle of the camp and the experiments as you kind of, I think the prisoners find out that they are being experimented on. What are your guys' thoughts?
I really like this one. I thought when I got to talk to you about it briefly, you filled me in on Unit 731 as a historical piece of World War II. And reading the book, I really enjoyed it. We talked about the art briefly. Will Conrad's got a really nice. It's very realistic. I mean, they don't look overly like cartoony, overly disproportioned, or anything like that. He does, I think, a very good job doing these kind of books set in specific, real world events. We were just talking. He did another POW book during World War II for AWA about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months back.
Okay.
Really interesting. Like you said, there's no supernatural element to it, at least not yet. I mean, who knows what could come about of any of this? But the stage is definitely set for the prisoner. Like, I like how the one prisoner he is caught on to something right away. And we don't know what he caught.
Focus. Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't know what he caught specifically, but and another Dark Horse kind of miniseries that between that and Breakout, Dark Horse is slowly creeping up, delivering some solid books.
I'm a big Dark Horse fan. I've been following them since the late 80s, and I've enjoyed their books quite a bit. And if this Unit 731 historically did anything that we're now seeing in books and comics and some of the television stuff, then, I mean, they give Himmler a run for his money. The amount of atrocities that we heard happening, that we see on a regular basis in popular fiction and media, as well as actual historical texts, man, they were up to some funky, nasty stuff. So that said, this is one of the few books where we can make a direct comparison to something that just came out. And between the Collector and Out, for me, Out was the superior first issue. I got more out of the first issue, no pun intended. This is a good book. It is well worth reading. I really needed there to be a little bit more bringing me into this story. It's there. You feel it. You know that they're, obviously going to use the series to build upon it. But like, we don't really get the motivations of any of the members of the Unit 731 of why they're doing what they're doing, and to get just a dialogue piece or two of why they're willing to do these just heinous experiments. I mean, just awful.
You get a little bit of a scene of that towards the back of the book where he's sitting talking with the commanding officer.
They go back and forth a little bit.
And he's talking about how this will pay off. This research is going to pay off for how germs spread in like close quarters, like in a battlefield or some of that nature.
And in a overarching sense, I suppose that's enough. But I guess in the way I look at this form of media, this has to be a little bit more personal than just a national pride or something weird like that. If you're willing to like spread the bubonic plague through prisoners of war, breaking all of Geneva Conventions and whatnot, then I need to see a page backflash of why, who hurt you, what caused you to do this.
I could see that popping up in the next issue, possibly. I mean, absolutely. It's a 4 issue. I think if you don't do it by the second issue, you're probably not going to do it at all. Where your villain's you're gonna see some of their motivation, their drive to why do we need to do this. But I like your comparison's pretty solid to me. They seem like very nice companion pieces. Where the other where Out had the nice supernatural element to it. To me, it remains to be seen if this one's going to stay historical or if there's going to be a lot more to this.
I looked at. I didn't read anything into it of like the premise or if they put anything out. I just saw it there and I was like, oh, like that something up my alley. I find historical books like that and that Unit 731 I find interesting when things are written on them. So for me, I was like, yeah, I'm jumping in on that. I'll read that. And I kept myself in the dark because I like to be surprised. Some of the stuff you gotta get just told the whole story essentially and the premise of what the book's going to cover. So I'm excited to see how this one goes.
People agree with me.
That's why Mike will never be on the show.
It's funny. I actually talked to him today. I'm like, hey, do you want to, stop by if you read any of this stuff? And I don't think he got a chance to read any of it. And he just did a live show for us from the basement. So he's been a little busy. But yeah, I want to, you know what? If you read this stuff and you've got a microphone and a camera and you want to come on sometime, just leave a comment below. We have the ability to bring people on. We ask that you have a headset or headphones or something so that audio gets messed up very easy on these things. But other than that, for me, yeah, I'll check out more of it though. Nick, what's on this pull list of yours, buddy?
This week I got Immortal Red Sonja #1, which we already talked about. For me, it's like, if you're into Red Sonja, I'd say it's a bag it. If fantasy or kind of the Thorian thing isn't you, an easy pass. Rogues 1 and 2, DC Black Label. I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute, but definitely those would be baggets for me. Stillwater, I got the trade paperbacks of Volume 1 and 2. That's a story me and Sean, I think even Ed, really like. I was like, I wanted an easier format to read it in, because actually I kind of dropped off and I wanted to reread the first batch and then what I missed in Volume 2. So I picked up both of those and read both of those. Love it. I was talking to Sean about that before we started. When we get the next actual issue of it, there's like a mini that came out. Collector we just talked about. For me, that's definitely a bag. Vampire Slayer #1. I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute, so I'll leave that one there. The Blue Estate trade paperback, something I collected when it came out. Couldn't even tell you when years. If that's more up my alley of stuff. And Athena Voltaire, I didn't get a chance to read that, but I traditionally do read all the Athena stuff as it comes out. I had asked Sean if this was singles that I missed combined into a trade, or if it was a bound up, just came out as a trade. You said you thought it was still just came out as a trade. There were no singles of that one.
I don't remember on this one. So If it did, it must have snuck in. I did contact Steve Bryant, the creator, writer, and artist of Athena Voltaire, and he is going to be sending us 3 signed copies for sale.
Oh, well, now I have to rebuy it.
Hey, I pulled out of the one. I was about to reorder it, and I saw you were on Facebook. Can I just buy 3 copies from you and have them sign them, throw them in the mail for me? And he said, sure. So hopefully within a week or two, we will have those available. Athena Voltaire, if you're into Indiana Jones, pulp action, Rocketeer, all of that stuff, then big thumbs up. I don't see how you go wrong with it.
I've never been disappointed, so I don't expect to be disappointed in this. And it's on the Orient Express.
I was gonna say, hold me one of those copies that you're getting in, so that I can take a look at this. So it sounds right up my alley.
I think you liked what was the Mercenary one? They only went like 5 or 6 issues, I want to say.
Are you talking Half Past Danger?
Yes.
Oh.
That is like one of the best books you've ever recommended to me. I love whenever he does that.
Danger, I think you like Athena Voltaire. And then Image did a really short 5 or 6 issue book that was like a Pacific Island U-boat boat crew.
Mercenary Sea.
Yes.
Oh. Yes, that was good as well.
If you like The Rocketeer, if you like the other one, then I think Athena Voltaire fits right into that so easy.
Well, put me down for one of those books coming in.
I will do that. What else we got? There it is.
Rogues. I believe that's the cover for issue 2. That comes out Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, officially DC Books coming on Tuesday.
Okay.
And on special occasions, we open on Tuesdays. We were opening on Tuesdays for like a year at Comics Cube, and finally, I needed that time back to not go insane. So it'll come out on Tuesday for comic stores that are open on Tuesdays. We don't open until Wednesday, unless you say, "Hey, I'm going to come and spend a whole lot of money," and in which case, magically, I appear like a genie who you rub the belly of. And I was like, "Woo! $500. Here I
am." So Rogues here. I think all 3 of us read this. Sean, did you get to read the first 2 of Rogues?
I just read it today. I read 1 and 2 today. I read them back to back.
So, we've got a DC Black Label. This is one of their like oversized kind of prestige graphic novels. Although coming out in like single issue form in a way. What I really like about these is they're almost Elseworlds. They're taking place in alternate timelines, alternate futures, and you see most of the Flash Rogues kind of coming out of retirement for one last big giant score. And Captain Cold's taken charge. A lot of them have been kind of living a normal life, and he's got them going deep into Gorilla City to steal all the gold from Gorilla Grodd for the final big score, so they can live their lives.
Are they stealing all of it or just some of it?
Well, I mean, originally he was like after all of it, and now, I mean, this is one of those, like any good heist book, everything goes wrong the second they all get into position, and they have to just like change everything. And these two guys know, and most people that know me know this. I, for one, welcome our future ape overlords.
Oh,
and so seeing a Gorilla City like this is a true delight. We're like, this was Gorilla City, not the. I mean, this is futuristic tech. Like, they are a full-on society. They're like wearing clothes. They're using money. They, going around. It looks like they're in New York City. It's just underground kind of. Well, probably more like Vegas. Yeah.
Grodd finally brought the outside world kind of back.
Yeah.
And then somehow kind of overthrew the government that was there. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And like kind of did the city. But I really liked it. Manager Andy recommended it to me, and so I picked it up. I did I did really like it. The art, I think, is great throughout. It's classic Flash villains, rogues, as it were, and you kind of get starts off with seeing that they're trying to be on the straight and narrow, trying to not be rogues, and then just life kicking them down, and not really letting them reintegrate back into society, and taking advantage of them. So, you see them kind of pulling this aged team back together to try to pull this heist through Gorilla City. I really loved it. The Black Label stuff, it's oversized. Well, I guess not all of it is, but a lot of these ones are the oversized books. Several different covers. Like I said, the cover number 1, I love that cover. So that was good.
That might be the one I ended up with.
I ended up with 2 number 1s. That cover I did not enjoy.
Oh, that's the
much.
one I got. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't.
That was all they had.
Yeah, that one though. That's a good cover. Sean, what were your thoughts?
Well, it's Black Label, so people need to know that right up front. This is an oversized magazine-style book. It's got that deluxe kind of feel to it. It's Elseworldsy because, again, the rogues are, it's like 15, 20 years in the future. They say at the start of the book, they show you a little bit of like a bar that all the villains are at, and then it says 10 years later. Well, those 10 years were really rough if it was only 10 years. But the idea is this is not in continuity. It is a great way, because it's not in continuity, I expect rogues to be dropping like the Suicide Squad. But it's a heist, you got that going on, and the end of the first issue ends with like Snart having to make a statement to the crew and like to the world that how far he is willing to go. And how far he is willing to go is not Flash like, it is Batman scary. So society, he went straight, kind of, sort of. He's in the system, kind of, sort of, and society broke that man. And so you get to see this almost, and I hate to always just throw the word noir out there to describe anything dark and depthy, but you get to see, what happened to the rogues as society ground them down, took away what they felt made them special, and then this is at least one guy's. I'm going out with a bang. I don't expect to see Snart come out of the end of this story. In fact, I expect to see quite a few people left in a fiery wake of death and destruction.
I would bet that maybe 3 of them make it out at best. And what you said, even the ones who seem to be living, that have gone straight, they're living kind of their best life, so to speak, they hate it. Like Bronze Tiger hates it. He is like, I'm bored out of my mind. This is awful. What do you have for me?
And even he's not excited about Snart. Right. He knows whatever he's about to offer isn't going to be good.
There's only one of them that was excited that just said yes before the pitch.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's a guy that didn't ever go straight.
Yeah, he's the only one that wasn't like, I've made a new life for myself. I'm burning this building for insurance money.
Yeah, Heat Wave is just flat out when Snark's like, I have it, and he goes, I'm in. He's just like, I'm in. Who we killing? That's
But I had a really good pitch. I don't need it. But it was really good. I rehearsed it.
Mick is Snart's ride or die. Like, that is his best friend. It didn't matter. Like, he was in, and I always like that. It's like, hey, Nick, I'm going to, we're going to go, I need your help. We're going to go hurt some bad people. We never talk about it again, kind of a deal. And, with Mick, that's, with those two characters, it's all, they did it on the TV show. They've done it in the comics.
That's true.
It's fire and ice come together. And
So let's take a quick death poll here. Sean, who is it you think? Who are the ones that you think are guaranteed to die before the end of this little mini series?
Snart has to die.
Okay.
He has to pay for what happens in the first issue. If I need to go with the gut punch, and I think you do, you have to whack Golden Glider. You have to whack. She's the one you want to come out. She's the one that deserves to come out, and because of that I'm killing her. I'm going to kill her early on to screw up the heads of everybody else in the group. So
see, and in the early 2000s or the maybe mid 2000s Flash run, she was dead for years, and that was like Snart's motivation. So that's why I almost wonder, is that one too obvious? Like, do you?
No, I think from what we've seen in the buildup, you got to whack her to make it happen. Mick goes out because he's going to. There's no point in him living without Snart.
Blaze of Glory style, like
literally we're going out, Butch Cassidy to Sundance Kid style. You killed Snart, I'm taking you all out, kind of a deal. So
Nick, who do you think is not making it out of this one?
I think I agree with Sean, but I think Mirror Man makes it out just freakishly.
So I could see him screwing them over too.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think you're right with the gut punch. Like, Golden Glider is who you want. Like, she had the best life going. She gave up the most for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She seemed like she had actually a life that wasn't utterly crappy. Not great, but like just wasn't terrible. But I think she goes, man, I think it's really who comes out the other side. I think Mirror Man, and I think you're going to wind up seeing I forget the gorilla at the end. Sam. Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. I was like, I think you see Sam get whacked too.
I can see that.
Okay.
I think Sam will join, and I think Sam will also
because he's very disillusioned with what.
Yeah, he's going to put an end. He wants to put an end to Grodd.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I think
it's also interesting. You finally learn that Sam, who is the ape from Angel and the Ape, is directly related to Gorilla City and Grodd.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they've ever actually said that in the comics, but in this, that's the way. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of fun.
But where does the monkey that his lady left him for fall in?
Detective Chimp is
Detective Chimp.
He's
a chimp.
Is he allowed in Ape City?
I don't think so. I think he's persona non grata.
There is definitely gorilla on gorilla crime in this issue too.
Yes, there was.
There is.
There's some real gorilla crime. So
all
take
right,
a look at what I
Ed's
picked up.
pull list. Ed, what do you got for us, buddy?
So I grabbed Vampire Slayer because I thought a couple of us might talk about it, and we will here in a minute. Collector Unit 731 was a great read. I'm definitely going to bag that one. I want to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Thanks to Sean, I'm actually like halfway through the very first John Carter novel, A Princess of Mars, and it's really interesting. I'm really digging it. And so I thought there's a new John Carter book from I want to say from Dynamite. I got to say I was not overly thrilled. It makes it seem like decades have passed. Like he's got his life on, Mars. He's doing everything. He's got his full family, all this. And he comes back to Earth, and it's very unclear what time it is. All the soldiers are still dressed like they're in the Civil War. and like his estate has been abandoned for decades at this point in time, and it's like this big legend.
Is it a
But
reenactment?
I don't know. It very much came across like they were breaking orders to, like, you know, because you have an African American and a white soldier, and they're like, we can't be seen together because you'll get me killed for being with me,
Huh.
kind of deal. So it was like, okay, this is maybe late 1800s, early 1900s. I don't know where we're at here, but basically, like, different alien races from Mars have been coming to Earth to try and invade, and now he's back on Earth, and he's like the last line of defense.
Is he unaware of the aliens leaving Mars to invade?
He seemed very unaware. Like, he gets randomly pulled to Earth, like he didn't want to go. But then it seems like also that every time they maybe set something up, that every time some alien comes to Earth, does an Earthling get pulled to Mars? Because there's a lot of missing people that have gone missing around the Carter estate. And so it's the idea that, like, they could be swapping places. The art was a little iffy at times. That one I'm gonna say it's not a slab, it's not a bag. I would say leave that one on the shelf. It just didn't even pull me in enough. I will stick with the novel.
So, you know, what I find interesting is you've just come out. You said you didn't really like it, and
Mhm.
the way in which you've described what you didn't like, now I want to know. Like, I want to go read the book because of it. So
So
I'm
the
gonna go
plot,
pick it up and check it out now. It was on my
plot
list, and I just fell behind. But yeah, with that, I'm like,
plot
now
was
I'm
great.
curious.
The art really just hampered this book.
Okay.
It's almost an unfinished cartoony style, and there were times where I couldn't tell, like, we've talked about panel composition with Breakout, and there were times where I'm going, okay, which speech bubble am I supposed to go to here? How is this guy suddenly all the way over here when he was right here a minute ago? It's overall, the art left me asking more questions by the end of it, and
I've ran
so I
into
was
that
just
a couple times before in a few Dynamite books. I think it's a couple of their artists. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up and see if that's the same couple artists that are kind of doing this style. But like a couple of Dynamite books I've picked up, not all of them, but a few where I'm like, oh, I want to check that out. It's interesting. And I'm like, I can't get over the art. Like
yeah.
I'm like,
And,
this just looks so bad to me.
and sometimes it's not just the art. Like, you could be able to draw an incredibly pretty picture. If you don't know how to lay out a comic book panel itself, though, you're going to lose the reader. It's going to make it difficult to read. I didn't show up to read a comic book just to look at a beautiful painting on a wall that you happen to throw up some dialogue on. A really good comic book artist has learned his craft and knows how to pace it. Each page should end in a way that makes you want to go to the next page. And every time you have to flip the page, there should be something there that is making you really want to flip that page to make sure you don't stop reading.
and
Panel
and you wanted
layout
to be able to
and flow is very important.
yeah, you wanted to be able to convey, like, a sense of action as well. And there were just some panels in this that, because you're right, you can draw a beautiful picture, but if when you're drawing sequential art, you don't have the ability to really um, convey the movements, the action that's taking place. And I'm on one page going, I don't know what happened from point A,
Yeah.
to Z at the end of this page. That's not a good catch. So, also picked up Wolverine. Uh, I'm enjoying all the X books. I'm loving the cohesive unit of it, and they're all starting to come back out now that the X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine and Post Inferno era. It's kind of if you want Deadpool, this is your Deadpool is asking for his Krakoan visa. So in this book,
Ed's working on his.
I'm working on mine. That's right. I'll see if I can get someone like Magma or Kitty Pryde to sponsor me. There we go. Avengers 55. I am sorry to say, but this is a leave it on the shelf. This is not a bag. This is not a slab. This book is directionless. This book is going nowhere and has for a while. It's like Jason Aaron gets halfway through a story arc, and he might do a 4 or 5 issue arc, and by issue 3, he's already like, and here's the seeds for the next one. Oh, I'm going to wrap up that one that I've been telling you in about 8 pages and immediately lay the groundwork for this next one. He's just coming up with some ideas and kind of just throwing them at the wall in the book and then going, I don't have an ending for it. So it just stopped happening. And this continues that for me. And I would say my slab it is that Rogues 2. That was probably the best book that I picked up this week.
Yeah.
So, and that takes us to, I think, our last book
Lastly.
here, Vampire Slayer.
Vampire
and Nick,
Slayer.
you read this.
I did read
right?
it. I saw it coming out. I saw Boom advertise it. I followed them on Instagram and some other social media stuff. And I saw them like say, I was like, oh man, Vampire Slayer. I didn't realize when I first saw it had anything to do with Buffy at all. I was like, oh, like, you know, Sean and Ed love Buffy and Vampire Slayer. And then I was like, oh, it is like it's a new Buffy. There's a new Slayer. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, you know what? I never really got into Buffy and Angel and what all that stuff, but I was like, you know, this might be a good jumping on point. I never read any of the comics either, but it was like, I'll pick this up. And
well, this
like, you know,
threw you for a loop.
Ed and Sean, and I love that cover.
Oh yeah, that's a. Is it?
I don't think that picture does it well. Yeah.
I think that's glow in the dark.
Oh, is it glow in the dark?
It's a card.
No,
it's
not.
a cardstock.
I mean, it needs
book.
to though.
Oh yeah, that should. Cool. But like that you can't even tell. But like it actually had like, you know, it is foiled.
That's a thick cardstock. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a foiled cover. So I was like, all right, this is good. This is gonna be pretty good. Open it up, started reading it. I'm like, oh, all right. I feel left out because I don't know Buffy, because it's just Buffy and the entire crew, and it's no one new. And
you're right. When Boom got the rights, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, they like started right back at Buffy's coming to Sunnydale High, and we're hitting the ground running, like pilot episode style. They were able to take, hey, we've seen everything in all the other comics, all the shows. We're going to take whatever character we want, and it is, I think they even did like, it's freshman year. Here we go. We're hitting the ground running. This flips it completely. This is like a what if, or even a Buffy Elseworld. Yeah. I almost wondered, are we just in some weird spell? Because Buffy's there, Giles is there, Xander's there, Willow's there, Buffy's not the Slayer. Yeah. That's the big crux of this issue. It's a different Slayer. It was a fun story.
It would have been cool if we haven't already seen that. Her name was Faith, and she got the job done.
Which I believe the Slayer, did you catch it, Sean? I think she's holding Faith's knife in like the panel that she comes out in or something.
That's great.
So, and I'll admit, when they did the reveal for that Slayer, I actually, because of the art style and some of the coloring, I just kind of looked at that and went, is that Slayer who I think it is? Because if it is, that's kind of neat. But I actually had to wait until I think 2 pages later before they said the character's name. And I was like, okay, good. It confirms exactly what I thought. I just couldn't tell from that initial page. The coloring could have been more specific for me, but I'm colorblind. So what do I know?
When I started reading this, I thought like maybe until they started saying names that a couple of them, but like I didn't get that was Willow.
Yeah.
Immediately. Until they were like, oh, I was like, oh, okay, that's her. But like I did like recognize like well, that looks like Giles. And
yeah, well, and they even drop like Buffy's name, Xander's name, and that's clearly Giles walking with a big book and the glasses and the tweed suit. But then it's like the Slayer comes in. It's like, I'm done with my Slayer training, and I'm like, her hair's kind of orange, maybe.
Yeah,
I was like, is that?
I wasn't positive with her until they said her name.
I was like, maybe it's Anya. Is it Dawn? Is this a brand new character? Who are we looking at? I'm like, well, we haven't seen Willow yet, and that's kind of a big character to leave out.
Yeah. Prince Pinchy.
But they fought a kaiju.
Yeah, they did fight a kaiju, so you probably loved it.
This show is hinging on kaiju and heists, and I am all for it. I'd say I think for Buffy fans, it's probably enough. If you want something just a little different, it's definitely a bag it.
A little, like a little.
Yeah. We'll see if we get 3 issues in and Buffy doesn't just like reveal that it's all some spell where she's not the Slayer, and you know.
So there's a scene in this book or a panel that really bothered me, where because apparently in this Buffy's like a bumbling fool, or like, you know, she just doesn't know anything and she's there to attempt.
Oh yeah,
help.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And they're like, go get me the flamethrower. I can do that.
Which one's
she
the
opens
flamethrower?
she opens a cabinet full of swords, knives, and axes, and one thing that like
It's a
I don't care.
canister with a flame on it. It's
Yeah.
got a flame on
Yeah, I'm like,
it.
I don't care who, like, unless we're talking about like some like Warner Brothers cartoon or Toontown. Like, you can't tell me like, well, that's a sword, that's an axe. This is probably the flame. Like, that bothered me to like no
Well,
end.
yeah, and then it's just I brought everything because I couldn't figure out which one was the flamethrower. I'm like, you don't know that that's a sword, that's an axe,
Wow.
and that's a big canister that like, has flammable liquid in. Okay, great. And that's
Yeah.
why it has that feel of maybe there's a spell going on or something, but it was interesting. I've not been reading the Buffy books for a couple of years, so it was kind of nice to dip my toes back in and see that world again. But I might pick up the second issue just to see what they do, or I might at least like kind of keep tabs on it to see is this going to go 4 issues? Is this going to be a whole new
What
series?
did you think, Sean? Did you read it?
I didn't. I took
Okay.
it home to read it. It was in my stack. I brought it back the next day and put it back on the shelf, and we sold out during the day. So I got to flip through it, and that's when I realized, I'm like, I thought this whole thing was like we get a whole new everything, and this looks exactly like the beginning of an episode that somebody did a weird spell, and like they did a Freaky Friday with Buffy and and Willow, except Willow was still intelligent and Buffy's not. So
Yeah.
After this, I might check it out, but honestly, it sounds like you got it covered for me. So it doesn't sound like I have to go through this book.
It was a neat little concept. Like I said, haven't been reading the Boom Buffy books for a couple of years, so it was kind of neat to check that out, but I can't say it's going to bring me back.
It possibly could have caught me if it would have just been completely new team. We're not in Sunnydale. Like, I didn't watch Buffy, but I've heard you guys talk about
Jersey Slayers.
Yeah, like Orlando.
There's another
I don't
Hellmouth
know.
in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a completely different like team where I didn't feel like I almost felt ostracized for not knowing Buffy.
You should have known Buffy.
Yeah, like
how you've been friends with him that long and not known Buffy. I
know enough of like because I can get the names and stuff, but like I never got into it. But like I just felt like reading it, I was almost being like I'm shamed for not being a big Buffy fan to read this.
All right, we need to go through. We got a couple comments we didn't get to talk about. Richard Candelari asked, no one picked up Animal Castle or Crimson Cage. Animal Castle, well worth reading. Everybody should read this book. But it's on issue 5, and it is a gut punch. It's just a constant barrage of, oh my God. So if you can handle that kind of intense drama, definitely pick up Animal Castle. If you aren't picking it up, pick up the trade paperback when it comes out. Superb. Crimson Cage, unfortunately, it was the final issue that came out. And so reviewing the final issue, just that didn't work out well for me. Points out Black Label doesn't ever fit in a box. It turns out comics
sell you a new
magazine boxes, so I'll happily sell you one. Everybody
do the trick.
One magazine box in their collection for weird stuff, anything they pick up at shows, stuff like that.
Do the trick that I do. It's not perfect, but I put them in. I put them in on the side of the box sometimes, in a magazine bag. So
I get too many of those weird wide sides, so I have a magazine box. That and I've Black Label's got me in a couple of different books that I really like. So
you get an oversized trade or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm getting closer with those.
Asks, wouldn't panel layouts come down to the editor? Panel layouts are traditionally written by the writer. The writer traditionally lays out the panel. The editor, of course, can come in and make tweaks and changes. But I can tell you, as somebody who's written a script or two and has read a script or two, what you write down, you imagine, you describe, isn't always the artist doesn't live in your head. He's not seeing that same still picture. You've described it, but that doesn't mean it's going to come out the way you think it does. And again, it comes down to talent, skill, and time. If you're not a very seasoned editor or a seasoned comic book illustrator, you might blow that one.
And I think too, it's going to be on what's the creative relationship like? Is the writer sitting there telling their artist like, look, I need this to happen on this page, make it happen however you want,
Yeah.
or are you getting some of those writers that what you said, page 1, panel 1 will have this, and there's going to be 9 panels on this page. I mean,
every script you read is different. Every script writer, every writer has their own formula. You go and you can buy a book that tells you how to write a comic book script, but I can tell you, I've bought in several comic conventions where writers are selling them. They're all different. Some are like every panel is practically a page, and others are a line. So everybody's a little different. Mason points out that he wants to check out Rogue, so
it's well worth it.
People seem to.
Yeah, it's a very good book.
So he points out the Batman is no bueno. We didn't talk about Batman because we talked about Robin, and I don't know that there was a Batman book this week.
No, I know. I work with this guy. I think he's talking about the movie. I think he was not a big fan of the more recent film.
So
okay.
Well, that's just silly. But whatever.
I still need to sit down and watch it, actually. So
I've watched 75% of it.
I highly recommend, if you're going to go check out something this week, go out and check Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I want to. I still want to.
Is that the alternate reality thing?
What's
like
that?
The multiverse? Is that the multiversal thing?
Best thing I've seen all year so far, including Uncharted, including Batman. I loved it. I was thrilled with it. It's perfect.
Hey, that's a different show. It's Geek Storm.
And then Richard Candelari points out it's completely different than ours, but he likes hearing us blather on and on and on. All right. So we're going to give away let's see here. I got to go to my solo layout here. We're going to give away a copy of We Live. This is the Ambassador. It says right there, Aftershock Black 1. And then somewhere on the cover, it's, got to figure that out. Sorry. The Aftershock exclusive variant. So this is your chance to pick it up. We answer a question at the end of every show, and we ask you to jump on in. So you're the executive producer of a reality show, and you can pick any superhero from any universe that you, your camera crew, the production crew are going to follow around for a 24-hour period. Knowing that's the case, and you're going to be like knee deep with whoever it is you pick, which superhero are you going to choose to feature in your reality TV show? And we're going to start with my buddy Nick this time. Nick gets to tell us who.
I feel like we started with me last time. Well, my gut really wants to go with the Badger, just because I love him so. But I don't know how great that be following him around. But then at the same time, like Long Shot or Domino, because maybe you get a little bit of that lucky rub off, and you get your you're buying your lottery tickets while you're with them.
Nice.
But I don't know. I'd if I get to hang out with them, I'd probably just hang out with the Badger.
Okay. Now, are we talking about the Vietnam survivor Badger, or we've had to update the line to Operation Desert Storm Badger?
I mean, original.
All right.
Vietnam.
It's the way to go. We got Richard Candelaria picking the Creeper. Great character. I don't know that I want to be around him for a reality show, because it becomes an unreality show real quick with that one. Again, leave in your comments who you'd like, and we're going to pick somebody who mentions a character, and we're going to give away this book for free.
See, Mason's pulling one of my answers there.
Well, that's my power.
Ooh, yeah, that's power.
Nightcrawler being like my favorite character overall, like to hang out with him all day. And if he's like, I don't have anything that's going on, that's fine, buddy. Let's go down to the bar and hang out and drink all day, and then let's go teleport around Krakoa. Let's see. Part of me was thinking too, I think you could get I'm thinking ratings wise too, you could probably get a pretty good show out of Luke Cage.
Okay.
Walking around New York. But also I'm going to stick with the heist theme, and I might go Black Cat.
Black Cat? That I can see.
Because it goes back to, Nick, you're talking about the luck powers. We see what happens here. Okay. We see her planning a heist. And that recent run of hers with her little entourage team that she had, it was pretty good stuff. So, I might go Black Cat on that one.
All right. We got Robert Justice brings out Grimjack. I think he is cheating. I think he's just trying to get to Munden's bar to get everybody in the entire multiverse to show up at this special bar that Grimjack has been known to go to on occasion. So We got to watch it. Make sure he's not trying to sneak that in. Nightcrawler's great. I'm going to go with Dazzler because one, hot female mutant chick. So I got my diversity with my my mutant thing. But then on top of it, music reality shows are like the thing.
You're just
got
just trying to get your Krakoa visa.
So I can also
Yeah,
do
that's
a
exactly
dating
what he's
show
doing.
with her.
So
She can show
you
up
want
on another reality show with her new hit single. She's probably going to do something with Maroon 5 at some point.
I
can
you
do a
want like
lot with
American
Dazzler.
Idol, America's Got Talent. That's what
Yeah.
you're going for. Okay.
She's probably a judge on one of those. Mutants Got Talent, Krakoa, something. So
Mutants Got Talent.
So that's what I'm going with. So yes. All right. All right. We've got our answers. We've got the Creeper, Nightcrawler, Grimjack. Those are your three to choose from. So we need some strange random way to pick a winner for today's question. Richard Candelaria, Mason Sowards, and it looks like Mr. Robert Justice are all going to be included in our chance to win the We Live Age of Palladians. If you live in the United States of America, we can mail this to you. If you're going to be in the store, you can pick it up. But that doesn't matter to us. We will happily mail this anywhere in the world that the United States Postal Office will send it to, and I will pick up the dime on that one for you. So, who's got a random generator of some sort? Who's got it?
I'm pulling one up.
All right.
There we go.
Trying to, at least.
I needed to test it out for something we were thinking about doing with Comics Cubed. And
it randomly chose 3.
What's that? Number 3. So, number 3, the first one was Creeper from Mr. Richard Candelaria. Second one was Nightcrawler. So, Grimjack, Robert Justice. Robert, you are the winner of the We Live Age of Palladians Aftershock Ambassador exclusive. You just got to contact me. My name's Sean Hilton. Give me your info, and we will either get it in the mail, or if you're going to be able to pick it up, you can pick it right up at Comics Cube. We will hook you up with that. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Our show went a little long. We try to go between 30 and 45 minutes. And again, we will post up later in the week on Comics Cube some of the books we'll talk about next week. And this will allow you a chance to hopefully pick up those books. And then if
there's something you want us to read, let them know.
We'll invite you on the show, and you can chit-chat with us. All right, everybody. I will try to get a hold of Mr. Robert Justice, and everybody else, you take care. Don't forget, Wednesday, Comics Cube will have a live show at 5:30 where we sell comics. It's what we do. Anything else? Anything else we need to promote? Comics Cube, Free Comic Book Day coming up May 7th.
What's on June 11th?
June 11th. I've got some friends doing an online RPG thing on KGov, which will be going to YouTube in May. So plenty of ways to get your geek on through Comics Cube related material.
What if I wanted like a Geek Street, decal?
A what?
A Geek Street decal, or like sticker or something.
We'll have to work on.
Oh, okay.
Get some reporters on the street. All right, everybody, we're going to sign off. Thanks so much. You have a beautiful day.